Have you seen Star Wars?
So the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer has been out for over a week, and I think the word that I used in my last video, underwhelming, has been the word that I've seen really throughout the fandom. The views on YouTube right now, the official video on the Star Wars channel, has it at 9 million, which beats out the Season 3 trailer from a couple years ago. There's some reports saying that its combined total views is like 50 million if you include TikTok, Twitter, other side. It's hard to quantify stuff like that at this point, but I still think most people are just kind of disappointed with this trailer. And I think more importantly right now, there's not a lot of excitement surrounding this film, which brings me to my question to you guys is how much do you think this movie is going to make in the box office if you could give a prediction? And me and my friend Palp Memes, since January of 2024, so almost 2 years now, have been having this debate for quite some time. My stance is that this movie has the potential to reach $1 billion in the box office. Now, maybe that'll be a little different after this trailer and everything like that because the reception hasn't been all that great. But Palp Memes has told me that he thinks it'll be around 450 million, maybe 500 million, and I think he is way off. The Solo film made, I believe, $390 million. And with the popularity of the Mandalorian and Grogu as characters, I think there's no way this film will perform as bad as Solo did. But I think the Mandalorian and Grogu are facing somewhat similar circumstances that the Solo film was facing back in 2018. Normally, every single Star Wars movie has a very big marketing campaign ahead of it. Lucasfilm will usually hold that Star Wars Celebration event. It's a convention for Star Wars. It's like a biannual Star Wars convention. And at a lot of them, at least with a lot of the recent Star Wars movies, each movie will get its own Star Wars Celebration convention, basically. The Force Awakens had its own, Rogue One had its own, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, they all had their own Star Wars celebrations where that is where like the first major trailer dropped and so much stuff came out about it. It really built a lot of excitement inside the fandom and, of course, with the general audiences. The only one that didn't have a convention was Solo: A Star Wars Story, and that's because of the timeline of when it released and everything, but they also had a lot of doubt going into that movie. So, kind of like Solo, The Mandalorian and Grogu didn't really have its own Star Wars celebration. They had the most recent one in Japan earlier this year, I think it was in April, but they didn't really market just The Mandalorian and Grogu. It wasn't entirely about the movie because there wasn't a worldwide release trailer. The trailer was in-house and everything. It was mostly about marketing Andor Season 2, which I think they did a good job on and everything like that, and then the announcement of Star Wars Starfighter. So the timing for this new movie didn't really work out, possibly, to market it back in April of last year, but the question is, what's the plan, Lucasfilm? Like where is the massive marketing campaign that normally comes with these movies? And the reason this one is so unique is because in 2023, they announced 3 different Star Wars movies. They didn't announce The Mandalorian and Grogu until like 6 months later at the beginning of 2024 on like a website post that, hey, actually the first film back is going to be The Mandalorian and Grogu. And so it's kind of weird that this didn't have a big announcement. It didn't really have its own Star Wars celebration, and the trailer that they just released for it hasn't really built up any excitement that I've seen in my own ability to look at what's happening throughout the fandom and everything. So if this movie is going to hit $1 billion, it really needs to copy the same thing that the most recent 4 Star Wars films that hit $1 billion did, and that what they did, each film that had hit $1 billion under Disney Star Wars, everyone except Solo, is each one of those movies felt like an event. Now, obviously, when The Force Awakens came out, it was episode 7, it was guaranteed to make money, and, it was a return to Star Wars, but they still went, balls to the wall with the marketing, and they kind of did the same thing with the other movies, especially like Rogue One, that wasn't really expected to make such great money, and it still did $1 billion. So excluding Solo, the 4 Disney Star Wars films that reached $1 billion all had major marketing campaigns that led to their success. We had events called Force Friday, where all the toys and action figures for the movie were released. We would have books and comic book tie-ins that would release that would tie into the movie and kind of just the context of the Star Wars universe around that time and whenever the movie's releasing and everything. You would have video games like Battlefront 1 and 2, Jedi Fallen Order. These would release within the same month as these new Star Wars films. Disney and Lucasfilm were making it feel like these new Star Wars movies were like a big event and you couldn't miss it. And if you did, you would regret not seeing it opening weekend with a packed crowd in the theater, And I'm not getting that feeling at all with The Mandalorian and Grogu right now. Now, some of you may be asking, Only why are you so focused on this $1 billion mark? Like, who really cares? The reason I use that, and I have used that, and I probably will still use that as a standard going forward for Star Wars films, is when you adjust for inflation, almost every single Star Wars movie, except Solo and just barely Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones barely hit that $1 billion mark. Every single Star Wars movie has hit that $1 billion mark. So if this one doesn't, it's also meeting the Disney quota that they established in 2012. You can read Bob Iger's book. He even quotes it himself. Is they looked at Star Wars and thought each film should reach $1 billion. And it's something I've talked about for years at this point. I think the marketing is just putting Lucasfilm in a rough patch, honestly, because the same thing happened with Solo back in 2018. If you remember, they didn't start marketing that movie until February of that year when the movie released in May. So that is kind of the difference between Solo and The Mandalorian and Grogu, is that they've just started marketing this and they've not really ramped it up like you would think, but they still have like 8 to 9 months. It's just kind of weird that we have 8 to 9 months and there's not a lot of excitement. But I would like to make my case on why I think this could reach $1 billion in the box office, despite my disdain for the title and the trailer that they just released. First things first, a lot of fans, like my dear friend Palpamemes, seriously underestimate the popularity of the characters Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, and Baby Yoda, Grogu. The show itself is extremely popular. It's still the #1 Star Wars series on Disney Plus, and it's not a very close margin either. The characters are very popular among casual audiences. You know, I live in Orlando, so I see the people at the parks, the constantly raving over Din Djarin and Grogu, and I think casual audiences, you know, just what people who make the bulk of box office sales will be more than happy to take the kids, to take the family, and see a new Star Wars movie. Most people want to go see a new Star Wars movie. Remember, guys, the Mandalorian, girls think he is badass. Or no, guys think he's badass, and girls think he's hot. And most people just think Baby Yoda is the cutest thing of all time. So that alone, I think, is going to bring a lot of people in to see this movie. But Lucasfilm needs to ramp up the marketing. There should be a Force Friday event, which I'm more than confident they're going to do. If they don't do a Force Friday event for this, like, what are we doing? So they'll probably do that before the film is released. But I am shocked that there's not a Mandalorian game releasing around the same time, because that alone would add a lot of excitement from gamers and diehard Star Wars fans like you and me. It's just really weird that we're 8 to 9 months and this doesn't seem like the return to Star Wars in theaters. You know, they took this 5 to 6, almost 7-year hiatus from the movies to plan out Star Wars. And we knew they wanted to make a big return and a big splash to the movie theaters. And it just doesn't feel like that right now. And it's very odd, because even a year out from a lot of these other Star Wars movies, when they would release a trailer, it would, even if it's a teaser trailer, there was something to dissect and get excited for. The trailer we have for the film so far, it really just feels like season 4 of The Mandalorian. And it's been so many years since we've seen season 3. A lot of the hype from The Mandalorian as a series has kind of dwindled. So it's just super odd that this feels like a TV show adapted into a movie, and it's not really giving, I think, a lot of people a reason to want to go see this. Now, things will change as we get closer to it, and I think they will try to do their best to make this feel like a big event and a spectacle. But one last side note I will say that I think Disney and Lucasfilm need to be cautious about is you need to keep this in theaters for a good long time. A lot of the times what they do with these new movies is they put it in theaters for like what feels like a week, honestly, and then it's immediately on streaming. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. The Star Wars movie, this should stay in theaters from May to like December. A lot of people like going to see a Star Wars movie in theaters when it comes Christmas time and everything. There's something about the family and all that stuff when you go and you see that stuff. So I do think they need to wait to release this on Disney Plus as long as possible if they do want this to reach $1 billion. But with all that said, now that I've made my case, I think I will safely predict the safe number for this movie around $700 million. They spent a little less than $200 million to make this. This is one of the cheaper Star Wars films to make because they've already had so many sets and the same crew and everything like that when it came to making it. You have over a year of post-production, so I think they can polish this and everything, and hopefully the marketing kicks up relatively soon when we get closer to May. So I think $700 million is a safe number, or they'll definitely make their money back. It'll seem like Star Wars is still in a decent spot or whatever. But if they want to make $1 billion, and I do think it's still possible to make $1 billion, they really need to market this movie and not just release a teaser trailer and call it a day. This needs to feel like an event and the return to Star Wars. But Hey, tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe this doesn't reach 700 million. Maybe it definitely doesn't even get close to $1 billion. But do you think my boy Palpamemes is right when he says it's probably going to make 450 to $500 million in the box office? Or do you think your boy Only, who I will say history has proven, has been right, more often than not? I think this will do well. But leave your thoughts, leave your estimates in the comment section below. What do you think The Mandalorian and Grogu are going to make in the box office at the end of the day? Support your boy, leave a like, and subscribe for more content on Star Wars. I'm Star Wars Only. I'll see you all next time, and may the Force be with you, my friends. Always.